Hey everybody, Troy Devlin here. Thank you so much for tuning in. First of all, I would really like to thank my subscribers. I know that there's not many of you guys, but those of you who have subscribed to the channel, I really appreciate it. And if you're watching the video, you're probably interested in biohacking because you know that's what I do. It's what I'm into. I'm a science nerd. I've been basically researching various biohacking concepts on myself for the past 30 years or so. And I am a mindful outdoor guide, I'm a health coach, and in guiding and coaching, a tool that we often use to sort of almost cultivate a certain environment or sort of get the set and the setting right in the beginning of a session is breath work. So in this video, I thought I could talk about an interesting breathwork concept. And before I get into that, I kind of had a favor to ask, and it's actually on behalf of another person. A friend of mine is in a contest. Her name is Danielle KImm. She works in law enforcement. She's an all-around awesome person. I met her in my previous life. We worked at a training academy together for law enforcement personnel. And so she is an all-around awesome human being. She's an instructor, and it would help her out if we could get her to win this contest. So what I would ask of you is here's what she looks like. Her name is Danielle KImm. And if you would visit the website mshealthandfitness.com and vote for Danielle. What we're trying to do is the winner of the contest will be featured on the cover of Muscle and Fitness Hers magazine. So hopefully Danielle's going to win the contest, and we'll wish her luck in that. So do me a favor and help out my friend. Now, breath work. I had an interesting conversation with one of my buddies in a vehicle. We were driving to go hiking together. We were going to hike up Whiteface Mountain, and on the ride up to the mountain, my buddy was telling me a story about scuba diving. My friend is a very interesting character, and he's a scuba diving instructor, and we were talking about breath work because he knows that again, I'm into biohacking, and he has the scuba background, where when you think about scuba, the breathing, it takes place underwater. So that's kind of the interesting and the sort of neat thing about it. And as humans, we have an inherent sort of, I guess, just everything in us tells us not to breathe when we're underwater. So my buddy is telling me about the way that he conducts the various training exercises as a scuba instructor. And one of the things that he's looking for from his students is for them to be exhaling as they're rising, as they're going up from the bottom, heading up to the surface. He's looking for bubbles to be coming out of their mouth. He wants his students to be exhaling. And the exhale is a very important, if not the most important part of breath work. And so I'm going to do my best to try to tie this all together. But one of the things that I recommend to people is really focus on that exhale and the long exhale. Make your exhale longer than your inhale. And so my buddy, the instructor, is telling me that because of the pressure difference, on the at the depth versus when you get up out of the water and you breathe in the air from the atmosphere, there's a huge pressure difference. And so what can happen is when someone has been breathing underwater and they hold their breath all the way up to the surface, and then they take a big gulp of air once they breach the surface, they can actually hurt their lungs. They can explode their lungs because it's too much volume, too much in-breath. And I found that to be very fascinating because he was telling me that he's observing his students and he's making sure that they're breathing out. And I'm kind of doing the same thing because, in my practice, what I find is that we breathe in, and when we do that, our heart rate speeds up just a little bit. And we breathe in and it happens again. Have you ever heard of the term hyperventilating? Well, when we're breathing in too much, we can create sort of a state of sort of panic and chaos within us. And it's really that out breath, right? That letting go breath. Make that out breath longer than your in breath. And there's various sort of breath work techniques that incorporate counting, right? Maybe you've heard of box breathing before, and I've talked about it in the past. And it's something that's really helpful for, it helps people with their marksmanship, so kind of specific. And you have to count, so it's not super easy or intuitive, but here's the video, guys, and here's the idea and the concept. And I would never tell you how to breathe. I'd never tell you what to think. Okay, you're watching the video. You've gotten this far without me. I'm just inviting you to consider the idea of breathing out first. Think about that for a second. Breathing out first. If I were to tell you, okay, we're let's say we're grounding ourselves at the beginning of a session, right? And we're doing that. As the coach, I'm trying to make this a somatic experience for you as the client. So we're going to do some grounding and we'll do some breath work at the beginning of our session, if that's amenable to you. So as the coach, I would ask you, okay, now, so if I told you to take a breath, how would you begin, or how would you think about beginning the breath cycle? Would it be with an out breath? For most of us, no. Most of us, if I were to say, okay, let's take a breath, we would start with a big breath in. And that's okay, it's totally fine. But I'm inviting you to explore the idea of, similar to my buddy, the scuba diver instructor, who's looking to see that his students are breathing out first before they've been holding their breath, let's say, and they're heading up for the surface. He wants to see them breathe out first and then breathe in. And so that's the invitation, guys. I invite you to play with that on your own a little bit. And it can feel uncomfortable to breathe out first sometimes, right? But it's actually the out breath that takes action. To breathe out, our diaphragm moves up. Think about squeezing like one of those little nasal sucker bulbs that they have, like for little kids, nasal passageways. You squeeze it and then it sucks out the mucus from the kid's nose. Think about one of those little bulbs. It's the out breath, right? The diaphragm moving up and squeezing that bulb that actually takes the muscular contraction. The in breath is just relaxing. The in breath is just going to happen. If you're above water and you focus on that out breath, the in breath should take care of itself. So that's it, guys. I know it's a little bit of an abstract concept, but I've talked to certain people that have been, let's say, they've had to qualify by running 1.5 miles in a certain amount of time. And again, focusing on the out breaths, in fact, counting them can be a way that we can get through, perceived physical exertion. So if breath work can make running feel a little bit easier, if breath work can help us, qualify, if we have some type of crazy marksmanship qualification where we're incredibly nervous that it makes our hands shake, if it can bring us down from that state of being in the red to back to being in the green, getting us talking about the autonomic nervous system there, getting out of that sympathetic state back into that parasympathetic rest and digest. If breath work can do that for us, then it might be worth considering, right? So I'm not an expert. I'm not telling you what to think or how to breathe. I'd never do that, but I would invite you to explore the concept of breathing out first. Thank you.